Okay, this is question 36. It says that Yvonne placed paper A and B on top of each other as shown here. So they overlap, right? This part. Yeah, they overlap. So name the force acting on paper B when it's put in the direction indicated. So you're supposed to pull this paper here. So they say name the force acting on paper B when it's put in the direction indicated. That means this force, this force that you write, right, is only happening when you pull it. So you cannot put gravitational force, because gravitational force is already there. So you take note, because this question says when it is put in a direction. So this one has only one answer. So it's frictional force. Okay, because some students they wrote gravitational force and frictional force. They wrote both, so they get neutralized, they get 0 mark. Okay, because they didn't name the force. Okay, next, Yvonne picked up books X and Y and interlocked. Okay, she put it in this way. Interlock, you can see clearly, right? So every page touches each other, every other page. So they overlap. As shown, she pulled the books apart in opposite direction. So she applied this pulling force to the left side and to the right side. Okay, she repeated the experiment by changing the pages that were interlocked as shown in diagram 2. So what I want you to do is, you can actually use a ruler to measure this part. Okay, if you print out correctly on A4 size paper, right, you measure this width, and then you compare this width, right, you will notice something. Okay, in diagram 2, the width is almost 4 times the size of this. So what does this tell you? Because this is connected to the concept of surface area. So in diagram 2, books, the pages where it's interlocked has greater surface area in contact with one another. Okay, so this part, right, they say Yvonne found that it was more difficult to pull the books apart when she changed the way the pages were interlocked as shown in diagram 2. Okay, this is a 2-mark questions. So what examiner looking for, which I'm going to teach you now, you must mention the part where talk about the surface area in contact with each other. So just now I told you the technique, right? You go and measure because you are given ruler and pencil, right? So you actually, what you do is, what you are doing, right, by measuring this part, right, this part here, you're actually doing a scientific investigation. Okay, you're doing a scientific investigation. You are actually comparing the width of this part and the width of this. Okay, so the answer is, so they ask you explain why in diagram 2, right, it's more difficult to pull. So you just focus in diagram 2. You say in diagram 2, right, there's more exposed surface area of the pages in contact with each other. This will result in more frictional force acting on the pages, making it harder to pull the books apart. So this is how we put the answer here. Okay, there's more exposed surface area of the pages in contact with each other. Actually, to be more correct, it should be with one another, right? Because more than one. One another. In English, you all know, right? Each other is 2 only, because here there are more than 2 pages. So I trained the word. There's more exposed surface area of the pages in contact with one another, so that there's more frictional force acting on the pages, making it harder. Okay, they say harder, or making it more difficult. Making it more difficult. Use the same word, using it, making it more difficult to pull the box apart. Okay, so once again, what the examiner look for are these. I just highlight to you. Okay, number 1, you must mention this one: more exposed surface area in contact with what? With the pages. Okay, the pages are more exposed surface area, this one, in contact with. So more frictional force acting on the pages. So actually these 2 points, half mark each. Okay, so the examiner must look for, I'm sorry, 1 mark each. More exposed surface area, 1 mark. Result in more frictional force, 1 mark. Okay. Okay, next is name another force which is acting on the book during the experiment. So during the experiment, the other force is gravitational force. Otherwise, the books will fly out. Okay. So it's gravitational force. Okay, so this part I will explain. Okay, this part, let me narrow down. So this 1 mark plus 2 marks. So this is a 4 mark question. Okay, 4 mark question again. So take note of this. Okay, next question, I have gone through before, if you notice, right? We have discussed this question. Why I want to discuss again, because this question commonly tested in prelim and also in PSLE, I believe. So you notice this is an auto pad feeder. Okay, so you try to understand how it works. So this one, diagram 1, shows that the food, right, drops from the feeding machine when the tray is empty. So you see here, so you annotate this one. This is the battery, the power source here, and this is iron rod. So once you see this thing, it must trigger your thought that this is an electromagnet. So when the tray is empty, right, the spring will spring up, correct? This part, the spring will spring up, and then will allow part Q to touch this part to form a close contact, closed circuit. Will activate the electromagnet. So this electromagnet actually cause object P to slide away. So from here, by annotating, you know that actually object P is a magnet, because only a magnet can be repelled by another magnet. Okay, so this is the beauty of annotating. When you try to figure out how this machine works, by doing this annotation, right, it actually prepares you to answer the question, which will be shown shortly. So can you see this is diagram 2, the food stop dropping when the container is filled. So why this happened? Because you see, when the container is filled, right, the food actually cause the spring to compress downwards. So when it moves downward, this part, right, part Q forms a broken circuit. This is open circuit. So this one no longer works. It's not an electromagnet. And then this spring back. Okay, this ball bearing is attached. So this one go back, slide back. Okay, slide back. So again, this is a real life application question. Part 1, state the property of the material used to make part Q. So part Q, right, this part, right, it must be able to conduct electricity. So this property is an electrical conductor. Okay, so this part, very easy. Part 1, electrical conductor. Next, explain how the iron rod becomes electromagnet when the food tray is empty. So this one you got to explain, which I just told you, right? When the food tray is empty, right, the spring springs back and then cause the part Q to form a closed circuit, allow electricity to flow through, magnetizing the iron. Okay, so this part, let me do it here. Okay, so this is how you should say. When the tray is empty, the springs attached to the food tray is not compressed anymore, or you say it springs back. It becomes longer, allowing part Q to touch the contacts and form a closed circuit, sending an electric current through the circuit, turning the iron rod into an electromagnet. Okay, this one seems a bit wordy, right? But as long as you mention this point, you will get a full 1 mark. It's only 1 mark, by the way. Okay, so you should say that when it's empty, right? Because you must use the word when it's empty. What happened? The spring, right? The spring not compressed anymore. Okay, not compressed anymore. You will allow part Q to form a closed circuit, magnetizing the iron rod. turning the iron rod into electromagnet. So these are the parts where you get a 1 mark. Not easy to get a 1 mark. So you must mention the closed circuit, and then the iron rod becomes an electromagnet. Okay, next one. Object P is a magnet. Explain this fact is true. Okay, explain this fact is true. So what you do is, you just say that a magnet can only be repelled by another magnet. Okay, a magnet can only repelled by another magnet. Okay, a magnet can only be repelled by another magnet. Okay, next. The bird could not finish the large amount of food dispensed without changing the setup. Okay, you must underline this part. Because some students, they change the setup. So they say without changing the setup. Suggest a change so that less food will be dispensed. Give a reason for your suggestion. Okay, so there are two ways. You notice there are two batteries now, right? So instead of using 2, you can use 1. The other one is to reduce the number of coil. Okay, why this can work? Because you see here, right? Let me erase this part so that you can understand. Okay, now there are 2 magnets there, right? Sorry, there are 2 batteries there. So 2 battery means the electrical power is doubled because they are connected in series. So this one you can minus 1. Okay, and then also this one, they show the number of coil. You can reduce the number of coil. Okay, then how to explain? Because you see, if you use 1 battery, right, the magnetic repulsion will be lesser. That means, let's say it repel, let's say now it's currently repel 2 centimeter, the gap. So instead of repelling 2 centimeter, it repel only 1 centimeter. So 1 centimeter, this gap is smaller. So this will result in less food being dropped inside the food tray. Okay, so similarly for also the number of coils. So you can say by reducing the number of coils, right, it will reduce the magnetic force of repulsion. So this gap will be smaller, so less food will be dropped. Okay, so this is how you answer for this part, which I'll put the answer here. So you can say decrease the amount of batteries in series. Because now there are 2 in series, right? The electromagnet will become weaker, repel P less. So there will be less space between the iron rod and P, less food will be dispensed. Okay, this is short and sweet, right? This part. Okay, so you take note of this. So this is quite a good question. It's also related to P5 topic. So you notice this question is a P5 topic on electrical circuit and also on the electromagnet. Okay, so you take note. I will stop this and then continue the next part to a new recording.